Oh, the lighting. Oh my god, the lighting. Oh my god, the lighting. Okay. Today in this video, I'm going to. I have this video I've been meaning to watch. Why is there so much light to there? Okay, whatever. I have this video here that's been sitting in my tab list for ages now. I've already watched it, by the way, but I just forgot to take notes on it. So I'm going to take notes on it in Obsidian. And that's literally just going to be this video. I'm going to see how quickly I can get through it and take notes on it and update my Zettelkasten, and then we'll see how it looks in the end. So let's do that. So Obsidian. So first things first, I'm going to create a new source in my sources folder. Just take the video title. Pretty simple. And of course, you need to also have, I can't speak, you also need to have the video author, Citadel Securities, whatever that is. And this was 2025, not too long ago. 2025, September, my God, 13, I think I said. 3rd. Oh my God, bro. Okay. I put a comment apparently. Myself, sick. This channel has like nothing to do with C++. Why is this video on this channel of all places? That is quite bizarre.
One of the questions I wanted to start with.
It was at their offsite. So anyway, so yeah, I've watched this. I found it very insightful, very cool. Lots of notes to take away from it. I might have even already made notes on it. So let me just do a quick search for this ID. Fill my vault. No, okay, seems like I don't have it. But I'll add it to my IDs here. Title here. Obviously, like this boilerplate takes a bit of time, but worry not. Video authors, Citadel Securities. Also, technically, Bjarne Stroustrup and Herb Sutter. Indirectly. Tags, it is a online video. Date, September 2025. I could also tag it as like an interview, I guess. Because it's interview format. I think I will. Interview. Link, of course. Let's get this one. Whoops. Get this one. And the preview would be the thumbnail, which I can just get here. Like so. Banger image. Alright, copy this. Open this. Paste that and put preview at the end. Nice. Copy this link now and just post it here. Cool. So what that does is now if I go to my base here, my sources base, you can see that I can have this information there, which is very cool, very awesome. Right, and now for the notes. So, okay, that's weird. Yeah. Right. How old is Bjarne, by the way? Like he looks, like I mean he's looked old for a while. 75? He's 75 years old. That's crazy. And he refuses to retire. Well, not refuses, he fails to retire, as we will see in this video. Well, this image is so good. Anyway, so let's get into it.
Have there been any major philosophical shifts in the
So Herb Sutter, for those who don't know, he's a guy who does C++ stuff.
curation of C++ as a language over time? And if so, what are the causes and consequences? Have there
question
been
was?
any major philosophical shifts
In the
shifts. Curation of C++ as a language over time?
So it'd be good also to get the transcription of this video while we do this. So let's go Control P for commands, transcript. Yep. Get the URL. Here we go. So this is the transcript of the video here.
And if so, what are the causes and consequences?
Probably the biggest shift was when generic programming moved from subparagraph of data abstraction to a primary topic.
I was edited.
And to a large extent, it was seen from use, and it got the final push by Stefanov's STL.
Stefanov.
But that's probably the major thing. If you look at that one there, the first bullet was there from the start. The second bullet was there in the first couple of weeks. Object-oriented programming came a bit slowly because the people at Bell Labs didn't believe in virtual functions. Mm-hmm. They told me that if I don't know which function I'm calling, I've not done my analysis properly. And in the end, I had to decide that actually virtual functions were very important for very important application areas. So that one could be set there. I said generic programming definitely moved up in the priority order. Compile-time programming, we started very early. One of the things that we needed virtual functions for was to run fast when we needed to select among alternatives. And before virtual functions, we had to use things like strings and hash codes and such. We moved all of that, or I moved all of that into the compiler so that we used indices to run fast. So that's one of the earliest compile-time programming. Inlining was very essential.
Compile-time programming. Earlier than you think?
Sure, you couldn't afford abstractions unless you had inlining, now contextual functions. Concurrency was there from very early on, and I don't think anybody liked the preprocessor, even back in the late 80s, not even the people who invented it.
Yeah, so that's interesting, because the C preprocessor, it very much feels like a JavaScript type of solution, right? Where like you're creating this language, but like you don't really know how to go about an alternative to the preprocessor yet, so you instead just add the preprocessor.
It was just the best they could do at the time.
One of the questions that was for me.
The best thing to do at the time. So that was immediately one thing to highlight that stood out to me.
Unless you had.
So let's see if I can not go back to there. Preprocessor. Great. Processor. Yeah. So I don't think. Yeah. So I think I can just drag this in, right? Okay. I need to go edit mode, and I should be able to just drag this in. There. Yeah. I don't think anyone liked the preprocessor even back in the late 80s. Like people invented it.
Inlining, now contextual functions. Concurrency was there from very early on, and I don't think.
So this is 202. Let me just remember how I even structure these quotes. Like this. Yeah, and then I can optionally for chapters I can do that. So I just do 202 like this, and put this in a quote. Like so, quote box. And then let's have dots. Yep, that's it. So there's the quote. So that's 146. And then he goes on to say it was the best they could do at the time. So that's very cool. Because I was wondering, like, why did they do that? Okay, so then we've got another question. Oh, well, okay. Let me write my thoughts on this. I find this interesting because I was wondering what the thought was behind the C preprocessor. It has always seemed, I'm going to add preprocessor to my vocabulary. It has always seemed to be a band-aid, I guess you could say, band-aid solution to like, what you call it? Like in C, macros are used for, I guess, some like compile time. Yeah, like compile time code execution. Yeah.
Anybody liked the preprocessor, even back in the late 80s, not even the people who invented it. It was just the best they could do at the time.
one of the questions that was for me, but I'm going to do a judo move and redirect it to you because
Judo
it's your
move.
proposal, is what do you think of C++ profiles?
Oh,
Now, I don't actually know what too much about C++ profiles. I did look into it, but I do need a refresher, I think. They were proposed but failed. Allow a programmer to state that they desire their program to abide by the conventional ISO rules and additional rules. They do not change the set of permitted behaviors. Are not to a well-formed program with no defined behavior. Oh, sorry. So these additional rules will not change permitted behaviors of a well-formed program with no undefined behavior. I'm guessing it can change. I'm guessing it can define undefined behavior then. So this was Herb Sutter's proposal, which is why he's judoing it towards Bjarne here. Is it Bjarne or Bjarne, by the way? How to pronounce Bjarne Stroustrup? I know it's Danish.
You are looking at Julian's pronunciation guide, where we look at how to pronounce better some of the most mispronounced words in the world, like this other curious word. But how do you say what you're looking for today? Name, pronunciation, computer scientist from Denmark originally.
Where is he?
Bjarne Stroustrup.
Stroustrup.
Bjarne
Bjarne Stroustrup.
Here are more videos on.
So is that Bjarne? Bjarne. So not Bjarne, but just like Bjarne. Okay, Bjarne Stroustrup. So Stroustrup, not Stroustrup. Bjarne Stroustrup. Okay, that's interesting, yeah. Because, like, again, I mean, it said it here. It's to kind of combat undefined behavior causing issues with, like, memory safety, I'm guessing?
we
I don't know.
need them badly.
You need them badly, he
It's
says.
as simple as that. People want safety, and they don't quite know what safety is. Some people think they can get security out of memory safety, the absence of memory leaks or memory corruption. It's not that hard to get these things, the range checking and such. But in C++, it'll have to come from profiles, and it'll have to come without breaking a billion of lines of code and
Yeah.
programming styles and techniques. I think profiles is the only way I know that can do that.
So are profiles like a way to break old codes, but then, like, have your own rules, I guess. I did see something here, didn't I? Why safety profiles failed. Like, what's that about? Okay. And 2015 detects all lifetime safety defects in existing C++ code. A bold claim. Profiles fail to produce a specification, reliable implementation, or any tangible benefit for C++ safety. So, mistaken premises. We should not require a safe function annotation. Do not add a feature that requires valid annotation. Okay. I might read this later then and do a video on it by Sean Baxter in 2014. Mind you, this video, assuming the one that we're watching was recorded close to when it was published, that was released in like 2025, so September. So I do wonder how profiles are doing right now. I mean, this says they failed, but it seems like there's still an ongoing thing, no? All but abandoned in favor of profiles. Yeah. And this is Bjarne Stroustrup's profiles thing. I was also going to read through this. In fact, I have it here as well. So I'll just open it here. Because I wanted to look through this as well. And he has references here. Okay, so I'll also read this later. And save this to my Obsidian folder. here. Looks like that's saved to the wrong place. Okay.
And I did express a certain amount of sadness that we didn't already have it in next year. But you know, we may get implementations next year if we don't get a standard. It wouldn't be the first time that something arrived and was used seriously in production on a large scale before it got standardized, like, well, C++. That's very important. I think a lot of people, when they think philosophical shifts, people think, for instance, the ideals of safety are new. They were there from the beginning. Static type safety, resource safety, and some of the safety fanatics haven't even gotten to research source safety yet. And we can do much better, and I think we will. Evolution gets us from there to here, and it gets us further. I really want profiles up near the top there.
What is the best single piece of advice you have for junior developers looking to improve their C++ skills?
Me.
Don't try to understand everything.
So this is a very key point.
Guess these questions. I want to learn C++. I want to know everything. And then I give my answer to your question, and they come back and says, no, I want to know everything. But you can't know everything. A language is a whole lot of rules, and they're hard to implement. I believe there's not yet been a complete implementation of C, because some of the details are too obscure and difficult. You have to not lose the forest for the trees. You have to get an overview of the language. You have to decide which bits are important, and design and evolution of C++ is if you are into philosophy of it.
Yeah,
But
this is a book I want to read.
Programmers, a lot of students have very little patience with philosophy. They just want to get rich. I teach students just about to go out into industry, and a lot of them really think they can be Bill Gates in 2 years. The tour of C++, if you're already a programmer, gives you again this framework for understanding the rest. I think some English philosopher in the 1600s says there's two kinds of knowledge, what you know and how to find. And that's, I think, pretty fundamental. I use cppreference.com a lot because I can't remember all of those function arguments and details. If I did, I would be a very worse programmer because I would be worrying about language details all the time. So look at the sort of the framework. Don't get obsessed with the details. Curse the debugging you have to do because, well, you have to. But don't think that's the whole thing. And don't get obsessed with one little fashion of how to write code.
Yeah, so here he says, look at the sort of, so look at the framework and do not get obsessed with the details, which I find interesting because then it's like memorizing specific syntax, you know, like the whole like standard library. Like if you know the framework, then not only is that I mean, it makes you a better programmer, right? Let's see.
Because there's so many application areas, there's so many different ways where importance are put. Like performance are essential in some areas, but in many areas they are not. Absolute safety is important in some areas. Then you have to define safety. In some places they are not. You have to decide what's important.
I'd like to finish with two questions.
Right, so yeah, so his advice was don't try to understand everything. Don't try to understand everything. And like I look in like, for example, in the C server. Well, okay, tell you what, let me quote this and then type as I speak, right? So this is 403, we're recording at 6:52. Just to get accurate timestamp here.
Don't.
Yeah, so 4:11. Whoa, not 11 o'clock. Yeah, don't try to understand everything. You can't know everything. Yeah. Uh, you have to decide which bits are important and design evolution C++. That's the book. But yeah, you have to get an overview of the language, and then you have to decide which bits are important. Is that a different thought, I guess? Like yeah, like which bits are important to you. So you have to decide. Just copy this as well. Yeah. So like for this, it's like for example, in the C++, well, like the together C and C++ Discord server, right? They have these roles, this role system. They have roles for different levels of what I believe is C++ proficiency. So they have like beginner, intermediate, proficient, advanced, and expert, right? But like, what does it take to be a C++ expert? But more importantly, right? So like, it raises a question of what it takes to be a C++ expert. But more importantly, is it something worth chasing? Now, I think that if you are literally, I can't spell that. If you are literally a language designer for C++, then you will, of course, naturally become very familiar with the language. Well, I need a new keyboard. But if you are just making like specific projects um, with the language as a tool, a means to an end, as opposed to something you are directly studying, then there's no need to become a C++ expert, right? So, like for me, for instance, like I've thought, like like whenever I go in that server, currently I have the intermediate role, whatever, and I'm like, ooh, like I wonder how I can get proficient, but like really, it doesn't matter. Like if you just use like again, programming is a tool. Even if you are someone like me who's interested in language design, like yeah, like then it's worth learning the language in more depth. But like even then, you wouldn't learn C++ just for the sake of learning C++. Like you'd learn it to like then compare it to other languages and like kind of like learn how it does things, right? But like that in of itself is still like a project that isn't just learn C++. Um, and I'm not saying that people who do have high roles in that Discord server are trying to master C++ and like that's their goal. But like rather those who are very closely connected to C++, like the language designers or people who have probably submitted proposals, language proposals, would be the ones who are more proficient with it because that's just kind of where their careers have led them and where their interests have led them and their projects have led them deep into C++. Whereas like I could do that, but then if I'm mastering C++, am I mastering Rust? Am I mastering Haskell, whatever, like Zig and other languages, like am I committing myself too hard, right? So rather than focus on mastering C++, I would reckon it's better to just work on projects and learn language features as I need them, right? As I need them or as they are useful. And likewise, try other languages. If I am too busy trying to master C++, how will I ever get proficient in Rust, in Rust, Zig. I'm not gonna mention Python, but like Rust, Zig, OCaml, etc. So that's interesting. What else did he say? Don't get obsessed with details. Debugging, good. Safety. You have to decide what's important to you. Okay, then we got more questions.
Try to important in some areas, then you have to define safety. In some places they are not. You have to decide what's important.
I'd like to finish with two questions that are more general. They're not specific to C++, but taking advantage of your years of wisdom.
Yeah, I mean, these questions are great because
And
I'll let them speak for
in
themselves.
general career advice and general questions, how did you decide what to focus on throughout your career?
Great question. I mean, asking someone who's literally the creator of C++, now 75 years old, and this guy, goddamn, he has quite the life, really.
One is to work with
Legacy, I should say.
good people and hang
Work with
out
good people.
with good people. That's nice. Sitting on your own is not fun, and working with jerks and having to protect your back is not good for your health.
So this is 7:15 roughly. Right here. Yeah, so one is to work with good people and to hang out with good people. It's nice, on your own is not fun. Work with jerks is not fun. And so I've always looked for how to be interesting, to be with interesting good people.
And so I've always looked out.
Yeah, let me quote this then. Here.
For how to be with interesting and good people. And usually interesting and good because they're doing interesting things. So you get inspired.
And so you get inspired. Yeah.
So the other way of looking at it is I look for something interesting that is fun and useful to work at. I want to build something, I want to do something for people. And those two aspects are closely related. And at any one time, I can't say which one I'm doing. So
Yeah. Now this resonates with me because I agree. I mean, yeah, like, whoa, really? It resonates because you agree. But you were just one person, and like I've talked about this in previous videos, like just like outside of programming as well. But like everyone, every single person is unique. Everyone has their own interests, their own passions, their own things they do, their own legacy, right? Their own things they will do in the future. So just naturally, if you talk to other people and you collaborate with other people and you find interesting you find interesting things in other people, then that can help you because you just get these different sources of inspiration, of thoughts, of ideas. Um, yeah. So as I've stipulated, what's the word? Is that a word? No. As I've spitulates? Surely not. Speculates? That's all right at all. Speculate. I can't spell speculate. No, that's speculate. What's the thing where like you postulate? No way. Postulate. Okay. assumed as true. Okay, well, whatever. As I've postulated before, I believe there is great value in the fact, right? Like it is a truth, an obvious truth, an apparent truth, in the fact that we are all with unique with our own passions, interests, and legacies, right? Interests and experiences, let's say, actually. Um, well, actually, both experiences and legacies, right? Like, just logically speaking, the humans are such a rich resource of ideas and new and like insights and inspirations. And so, of course, we should communicate and collaborate with each other. We should ask each other questions and find out more about each other's about what about what we are doing. Um, because it is interesting. It can to inspire us to like to think in ways we likely without couldn't reach on our own, let's say. Um, and that's why as well, like the internet is so good. Um, but yeah, like if you spend time with interesting and good people, or they're really interesting, um, is a key word there. Then yeah, you'll get inspired just from looking at what they're doing. They'll give you ideas, and you'll say, "Oh yeah, that resonates with me." And like maybe you don't know why you find them interesting, and find what they doing is interesting. But then if you question it, then you can find out a lot more about yourself. Um, so yeah, even if you don't know why you find someone or their work interesting, the the act of questioning it can lead you to learn a lot more about yourself. Also worth mentioning, also worth noting that the internet plays a big role in relation to this, since it provides near immediate access to hundreds, well, to millions of, well, provides windows to the lives of hundreds of millions of people. I would say billion, but well, yeah, I say billion, but I'm not sure. Like a billion people post their stuff online. Like maybe most of them just use it to just like look at stuff and then are otherwise silent. Yeah, it's
I
interesting.
learned object-oriented programming by having a serious number of beers with Christian Nygaard because he was a visitor to my university and I was a grad student. So I got into that. Similarly, I like machine architecture and design of machine instructions and such. And that was just because somebody down the corridor was building a microprocessor.
So he attributes his own interest, his own passions, and like the things that he ended up dedicating a lot of his life to, like object-oriented programming and did you say like assembly, to just well, like low level programming, to people he saw and was inspired by. Like that literally changed or determined the course of his career, which I find very interesting, especially as someone who believes in hard incompatibilism, which states that determinism is probably true, like probabilistically speaking, from the information we have available, it would appear that determinism is most likely to be true for what we know. Um, and also additionally that even if things aren't deterministic, like there is like non-determinism and like randomness in the universe, either way, we aren't in control of that. So like what we think we are in control of is actually deterministic, is kind of what the theory argues. Um, so it's interesting that he kind of like not directly, but like he kind of indirectly says this. Like he attributes his interests to these events happening to him, which I find very interesting. So let's take a note of that. Christian Nygaard and whatnot. So this is
So, for people. And those two aspects are closely related. And at any one time, I can't say which one I'm doing. So I learned object-oriented programming.
803. I learned object-oriented programming by having object-oriented programming by having a serious number of beers with Christian Nygaard because he's visited my university and I was a grad student. So my phone's going off right now. Similarly, I like machine architecture and design of machine instructions. That was it, machine architecture and such. That was just because somebody down the corridor was building a microprocessor. Yeah. So this is another good point, which I'll put here. Yeah, this like this seems very much in line with my own with my own worldview of hard incompatibilism, i.e., determinism as far as what as okay, i.e., what we think we control is actually deterministic of our past experiences. Incompatibilism. Okay, that's spelled correctly. Deterministic. Um. Oh, hold on. Is this even correct? Christian Nygaard. Yes. W transcription. Actually correct. Um. Yeah. Be, because he because Bjarne literally attributes his these quotes are taken from this interview are taken from Bjarne Stroustrup in his interview with Herb Sutter. Herb Sutter. Sutter or Stutter? It's Sutter, right? Yeah, Sutter. My bad. Um, Stroustrup. Stroustrup. Oh yeah, because he literally attributes his passions and the things that drove his career. Well, not passion, but like his the things that he has dedicated much of his career to opportunist yeah to like to just opportunities to okay, much of his career to his meetings of influential figures in his life that he found interesting. Yeah.
Programming by having a serious number of beers with Christian Nygaard because he was a visitor to my university and I was a grad in architecture and design of machine instructions and such. And that was just because somebody down the corridor was building a microprocessor. So basically, keep your eyes open, have a
So keep your eyes open, have a broad background.
broad background so that you can take an opportunity when it walks by. Like Christian Nygaard, he had to go up the stairs to the guest apartment, literally. And so you have to know enough about languages and compilers to actually benefit from what he has to say.
You have to know enough about languages and compilers to actually benefit from what he has to say. From what Kristen Yeah. Yeah. And I also share this philosophy. I think that in a world governed where determinism, well, where the theory of determinism, well, yeah, just where determinism is true, um, it makes sense to give yourself as, or like to open yourself to as much opportunity as possible. You know, it's like improving your odds in a game of chance. If you can improve them to win and be more successful, you should. And you do that in real life by consuming, well, by yeah, by giving yourself um well, okay, by obtaining, you know, prerequisites to access more and more knowledge, to gain access to more knowledge. Yeah. So I mean, what he said, keep your eyes open, have a broad background so you can take an opportunity when it walks by. Right? Like keep those windows open. But like not only keep the windows open, but like or the doors open, but like open the doors in the first place. Find out about the doors. Like it's not just keeping the doors of opportunity open, but actively seeking doors, that you can keep track of, or that you can keep in the back of your mind or at the front, um, so that when opportunity does walk by, well, so that when those doors do open, you can, yeah, you can. That's the analogy, right? That you can access, that you can walk through them. So that's quite cool. Um, yeah. So like I mean, it's kind of why I make these videos and like do this Zettelkasten stuff in the first place. So like all this research, like I do it because I know that even though like I'm not like profiting from it now, like financially, right, monetarily speaking, and like it's not like it's not related right now to my studies. It's not helping me find a job right now. Down the road, I'm pretty certain that just knowing this stuff will benefit me down the road because it will have opened opportunities for me to be able to do things and meet people that otherwise just wouldn't be able to access.
He didn't know compilers, by the way, but he knew languages. And
It might be worth mentioning as well. I do think that this is a mindset that's very useful to have. Um, I do think this is a mindset that's very useful to have. I remember back in school, there was always the dreaded the question from students that teachers would dread. Um, will this be on the exam? Not because teachers want students to fail their exams, but because it's indicative of a culture of a culture in education where students just want to learn things for an end goal rather than to enrich their minds and set themselves up for success down the road in ways they cannot predict.
uses of languages. Similarly, I've done machine architecture, so I could pick up the interesting stuff about microprocessors, which actually happened to have come out of the lab in Cambridge from Maurice Wilkes and Davis Wheeler. And so when I had done machine architecture, I certainly could get on with those people and learn from them. It's what you do
Yeah.
and how you get ready to do it. And a good, solid, broad education is what's underlying it. I think was some Frenchman said, "Fortune favors a prepared mind."
Fortune favors a prepared mind.
That is, you have to recognize an opportunity when you see it.
So working with good people, interesting people.
Or chance favors a prepared mind. Louis Pasteur. That's the quote, apparently. Yeah. Um, or fortune favors a prepared mind. Did you say it in French or what? Dans les champs de l'observation, les hasards ne favorisent que l'esprit préparé. So in the fields of observation, les hasards ne favorisent que l'esprit préparé. Something like that. Oopsie. French to English. Let me just make sure this is actually correct. I don't. My French is not that good at all. So chance favors only the prepared mind. Yeah. Les arts ne favorisent que l'esprit préparé. Awesome. I'm totally going to remember what that means later on. Um. Yeah. So if you think of your brain as a machine, right? Because like it effectively is, right? Just a very complex machine. then how do you get a machine to do good things? Well, you give it a good input and it produces a good output. So you just feed it desirable inputs. If we think of the brain slash mind as a machine, which is fairly agreeable, fairly agreeable, as a very complex a machine, however complex it is, then it makes sense to think that the best way to produce, well, that the way for us to produce desirable output is to feed it the right input, right? And like I say machine because like like we think we have control over these mechanisms in our brain. Um and ultimately maybe you've no control over anything. But what I can do, you know, like ignoring that is I can still try to convince you, the machine, to change the way it goes about seeking input. So whether or not it's a decision that you make, like whatever the case, you think you're making it, so I can convince you to make it. Like what like at this point we're kind of talking very metaphorically, if we like assume that there's a you in the first place, but whatever the case, if we assume that I can refer to you and mean what I want to mean, yeah. So yeah, yeah.
doing interesting things, working on interesting things.
Mhm.
Those are things that resonate with me as well.
And thing that that I mentioned briefly.
It resonates with Herb Sutter as well. I do like Herb Sutter. I did actually watch a video. I made a video where I read one of his art papers. I think on pattern matching, which is cool. So like yeah, so like this guy writes proposals for C++, and I believe he has for a while.
And I should probably repeat. I like to do things that is useful to other people.
Yeah.
I don't want to do crossword puzzles.
I was going to joke, there's time enough for that when we're retired, but he has already failed to retire 4 times. You have retired 4 times, and you can't stay retired.
Oh,
so, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
Yeah, I found that very interesting too. So 2 things there that you said really. One is I want to make software that helps other people. I don't want to do crosswords. Well, before I speak, I should probably quote that and then make notes in it. What was this?
I should probably repeat. I like to do.
So 10:02. Here. Oh my days. Uh, I should do things that's useful to other people. I don't want to be to do crossword puzzles. And then the retire thing is a thing. Yeah, so this was interesting to me because it's kind of like counter. I mean, it's obviously like a very good sentiment. Like it's very agreeable sentiment. I want to do things that are useful to other people. The question is, how do you define what is useful? So like the question this raises is how do you define what is useful? Presumably, it is not just doing things that are directly useful, but also doing things that down the line may be useful. Or like, sorry, that no, like doing things that may lead to you doing other things that are useful. Like, for example, I don't like crosswords, but that's just because I don't like crosswords. I do like Sudoku, for instance, right? So, like, for example, I got very into Sudoku, even though it is seemingly useless. But but I argue that it is useful, that it is ultimately useful because it was a good way for me to strengthen to practice and strengthen my problem-solving skills, which will, of course, come in handy down the line. Will come in handy, well, effective immediately, really. And will, of course, be one of the key skills I will apply when helping others, right? So, like, if you are doing something that you don't think is benefiting you and it's not benefiting others, then that's when, well, for me anyway, and I assume for Bjarne, this is what he's saying, that you can just lose motivation. So for me, and I assume Bjarne too, since he has said this, I lose motivation. Motivation is lost when I am doing something that is no longer really producing any value, right? So, like for example, um, like gaming, like for example, I still haven't really gotten into gaming because I just feel like I don't have much to gain from it. Um, some people can grind the same games for years of their lives, and find it fun. But I simply do not find it fun because my values and priorities do not align with, require that I do something that feels like it will be useful to, well, yeah, like society, well, humanity, um, at some point. Like me completing Final Fantasy VII, for instance, remake, right? It's a game I've been playing for a while, but I kind of just lost interest in it after a while. I guess it's because I kind of feel like it's like it's a cool story and all, but me completing it, I just don't feel like it's going to teach me anything particularly crazy, you know? So it's like, and like until I see something that changes my mind about that, like a clip from the game or like some like trailer piece or whatever, or like I see like in the new Final Fantasy trilogy remake whatever game, there's like a really interesting plot, elements. Um, I just don't feel like playing it because like it's an investment of time, and like people say play games, like if you have fun, and that's fine, but I don't have fun because it's not like why would I have fun with something that doesn't align with my interests and my passions and my goals? So that's really interesting. And the other thing is this guy has failed to retire.
Working on interesting things. Those are things that resonate with me as well.
And thing that's useful to other people.
Yeah.
I don't want to do crossword puzzles.
I was going to joke, there's time enough for that when we're retired, but he is already failed to retire.
He's already failed to retire 4 times because you have retired 4 times.
4 times. You have retired 4.
There's no because there.
4 times, and you can't stay retired.
Oh,
So, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
And he said, I'm not very good at that.
Four times, and you can't stay retired.
Oh,
So, congratulations.
Yeah, I'm not very good at that.
Yeah. I guess it makes more sense like this, actually. Yeah. So this is interesting because for the longest time, in fact, since as early as I could ponder the concept of retirement, I have never, and I mean that I've never been able to imagine myself retiring. Like, just the idea of retiring seems weird to me. Because if you dedicate your career, right, your job, whatever, to something you are truly passionate about and interested in, why would you stop just because you reach a certain age? Like, I don't understand that the idea. Um, like, what else would I be doing with my time? Waiting to die? Like, like I can spend time with loved ones, but that time is also kind of just wasted if, if like with spending time with loved ones, right? Like I- if I were to spend my time with loved ones, I would want it to be so that even then, I'm leaving a good impact on their lives by doing that, so that they can be inspired to do great things, right? I wouldn't just do it because of this idea of, I don't know, of being done with your life and relaxing for the remainder of it, right? Um, and like I see this as well, like in my well, in my mother. Um, it's funny because I can't imagine my mother retiring either. Even if she were to stop working at schools, I'm sure she would still have other projects um, that she'd be working on. And like, I wonder if I inherit this from her. Um, Probably do, I guess. But yeah, it's very, very interesting. And like for Braun to be 75 and unable to retire, like unable like himself, I mean, um, that's just so cool. It's so cool, and it obviously resonates with me deeply. So, I mean, I talked about this. Actually, I will use their first names because I use Braun here. I talked about this in the when I read Bjorn's paper on, I think it was reflect. What was it, reflection, or was it something else? I think it was like, how do you why so certain, like something like that. How are you so certain, like something like that. And I just remember thinking like, well, I mean, I said this, I was like, damn, like Bjarne really is just a cool guy. But like when I first learned C++ plus plus, and like I heard about, the creator Bjarne Stroustrup, I was like, damn, like this guy created such a cool language. And like the more I learn about him, the more this like idea of this guy, right? Like this idol that I had in my mind as the guy who could create C++. Like that's just been reinforced. Like when I first saw this, there's this image of the creator of C++. I was like, okay, first of all, like I laughed, like ha ha ha, the typical C++, the quintessential C++ fit, and like the hair as well, and the glasses and everything. But like, wait, did he recreate it? That's perfect. Look at how far monitors have come. But like, I don't know, like it was an aura, that I can't quite explain. And for some reason, I was just always drawn to Bjarne, to the point where like if I saw his opinion on something, it would just kind of take precedence and priority in my mind as like something worth listening to. Something that I've never even really heard or like felt with other creators like Linus Torvalds, right? Creator of Linux. Like he's cool, but like he for some reason I never felt like the same kind of draw, if that makes sense. Um, so yeah, it's very interesting. I wonder why that is. Maybe it's because he looks like Einstein, kind of with like the crazy hair. Or maybe it's just the fact that he has hair like this, and like chooses to keep it is like it's like an indication that he just doesn't, like he's not concerned with those kind of things, which is also cool. So like yeah, I don't know, I don't know. But like it's cool that the more I find out about him, the more I really do resonate with what he says and what he thinks. I could write that down, but no, like it's me just gushing here.
That. uh, and that's not exaggerating. That's actually factually true. The other thing that I like to add to those kinds of questions, the good, interesting people, interesting problems, absolutely important. And you also touched on learning, the importance of a solid education, and that.
Yeah, I didn't say this. I mean, I kind of like indirectly noted it in my notes there, but like it really does highlight the importance of going to school and like having these classes. Like even if you don't like, I think the issue is not that these kids aren't interested in maths. Why are we forcing them to learn maths? Okay, I need to write this. Hold on.
Tweaks to me also the importance of being curious. Stay curious. We're always wanting to learn new things because our education isn't something we do and then stops. If somebody thinks that they've learned what they need to know and they stop, they will stop. They won't progress further.
Herb Sutter is spitting bars right now. Fire.
The importance of a solid education.
Okay, let me just find that quote first with a solid education. So you can find it here. Yeah, a good solid board education. So this is like around here. So around 926. This is 1037. Here.
Certainly could get on with those people and learn from them. So what you do and how you get ready to do it. And a good solid broad education is what's underlying it. Good solid broad education.
932. A good solid broad education is what's underlined. Yeah, then here. This is the quote. Yeah, so like as I was saying, I think the issue with the education system, like schools, unis, etc., is not that we force, kids to learn things they are not interested in, because at that age, well, yeah, because at that age, what, how can they know for certain what they're interested in? I think the bigger issue is that like we don't show how the things they learn are interesting and like can be useful in ways that go beyond just doing taxes and getting a job, you know? Like people say, oh, you know, just go to, you know, like, why didn't school teach me how to do taxes? You know, why didn't school teach me how to find a job, how to apply for a job? And like obviously these are important things for to get into society and all that, and they should be taught, I think. But like, that's not the reason you hate doing maths in school. It's because you probably got this idea that you were bad at maths, but also more importantly, like, why are you bad at maths in the first place? Probably because you never really engaged with it in the first place, or just had a really like rubbish teacher who demotivated you and and broke that engagement. So maybe you were engaged and it got broken, but like, how do you get that engagement, right? By being interested in it. Like, how do you get a child to be interested in like complex number theory? Because like most people just like this is so useless. Like imaginary numbers, like ha ha ha. But like for me, learning complex number theory was so interesting just because it's like the idea of having a number line, you know, negatives here, the positives here, you know, to get from the positives to the negatives, right? It's like analogous to rotating by 180 degrees, or pi degrees, right? In radians. And it's like, what if instead you went halfway, 90 degrees, you know? What if we added another axis to our number line? And that is the idea of complex numbers. And that's just so cool. But that's not how it was taught to me in school. I got that from a YouTube video from like a physicist, literally like in grade 11 or 12. Like that's when I learned that fact. When I learned it in school, it was just like, yep, we have I, which is the square root of -1. It's like, okay, because like as soon as someone tells me I equals the square root of -1, right? My question is, so what? Okay, like sure, like you give me a definition, but if you show me what a complex number is, even if I don't like yet see the usefulness of having the number line be rotated by 90 degrees, or like, well, traveling like 90 degrees on the number line. It's just the fact that that's happened, and like we have done this thing that's like it's like expanded my mind, and it's like that's so interesting. You know, like it gets me thinking, what else can we do along these lines? You know, like what if we rotate the other way? You know, to get 3D complex numbers, and then well, it turns out actually you can't have 3D complex numbers, but you can have 4D complex numbers, and these are quaternions, right? And like that's a natural progression of that concept, and that's interesting. Like I have literally said this to like primary school students, you know, my sister and whatnot as well, and they find it interesting because it's just something you don't even think about. Like again, like the number line, rotate it. It's just so cool. It's cool. It was interesting, and because it's interesting, you kind of want to learn more about it. That is the way that things should be taught, not the way largely that they're taught now. So like it's weird to me that we even taught complex numbers as late as like the IB. I don't even know if you do complex number theory in GCSE, like even in like extended or further maths. I don't feel like I feel like you kind of dance around complex numbers. I mean, definitely in further maths for MYP, I don't think we touched on complex numbers much at all. And if we did, it was very brief and like not very in depth. But like, why? Like, it's not like I mean, like, sure, like you need to know what the square root of -1 is, but like knowing a square root isn't that complicated either because it's just the opposite of squaring. And like squaring is just multiplying a number by itself, and multiplication is just repeating a number this many times. Like it's not that crazy to go from there. Like a child, a primary school child who has learned addition can learn multiplication, and then can learn exponentiation, and then can learn square roots, and then can learn complex numbers. But then it can also imagine because like everyone knows what a number line is. So like it's like why? Anyway, huge tangent there, but like, yeah, that really resonates.
You have retired 4 times and you can't stay retired. That I like to add to those kinds of questions. The good, interesting people, interesting problems, absolutely important. And you also touched on learning, the importance.
technical fellow, by the way. Like, what?
Of a solid education, and that tweaks to me also the importance of being curious. Stay curious. We're always wanting to learn new things, because our education isn't something we do and then stops. If somebody thinks that they've learned what they need to know and they stop, they will stop. They won't progress further. We're always learning. The world is changing. There's always more to learn. Just think about all the things in computing now and in the world now that did not exist, or we didn't even know about because it didn't exist as prototyped and at scale even 5 years ago. And to that, here's a final question.
I mean, just, yeah, well said. I've really nothing to add. It's true. We are lifelong learners.
Which is really difficult to answer, but it's a question for our immediate and long-term future. So it's worth to get a snapshot of thinking now. How do you see AI impacting software development practices to the extent that we can know that what we know so far in a very, very rapidly evolving field?
Now, this is a very interesting question, because it's more philosophical than it may seem. Like, usually, if people ask about, oh, what do you think about AI? People might say, oh, yeah, we're doomed, or like, yeah, I don't care about AI. But like, the more interesting response is really getting into what AI even threats, really. Threatens, sorry. Like, what is the AI threat really? Right? Like, okay, it'll take my job. Why? Or it won't take my job. Why not? Like, why do you think that? What can AI do that makes you replaceable? Or what can AI not do that makes you not replaceable? Like, that's the real question behind it.
First of all, I'm not an AI expert, and I don't plan to become one. I've got too much work to do in other areas. So that's an area I cannot pick up. I don't have the background, I don't have the time, I don't have the people that could fire me up. So
Yeah, that's awesome. I do have the people that could fire me up. Again, like a callback to what he said. It's cool. It's cool.
I'll never become that. I have some worries.
Never say never.
Well, I've always got some worries. I'm trying to solve problems.
Although he's
To solve
75,
problems, you have to start worrying about something. But the thing that I see is that people are using LMMs to get answers. And there's lots of stuff about letting them do the simple things. And I worry that we lose the skill to determine what is good and what is correct, because we are not actually practicing doing things. We lose the ability to do it ourselves, and then we come to trust the AI, and the AI is, at least now, not trustworthy.
Yeah, so we're putting our trust in an untrustworthy entity, right? We just believe it to be correct. When, like, most of the time, a lot of the time, it just says stuff that isn't correct, or like that, or like it fails to consider certain information. Like for this, in the video I recorded, well, today, I asked him, I asked Claude, who I call him, what alternatives there are to Anki, right, as a flashcards app. And I was like, okay, like use Mochi, sitting with plugins, log CQ, and then I said, okay, but like, because like Mochi, I think, is the best one so far. But it said that it recommended just using the Obsidian Space Repetition plugin. So I said, okay, but then what's wrong with Mochi? Like you said, it was good, and you didn't really give any downsides to it. So what's wrong with it? What does Claude say? I was a bit vague. Let me be more precise about the concerns. So like it kind of just admitted this, and the only way that I was able to then get more information about Mochi is because I didn't just blindly say, okay, then I'll use the Space Repetition plugin. Like no, I actually went in there and I used my brain to think, wait, but why have you said this? Because like even if you're talking to a human, right, who you trust, like would you not be skeptical of what they say at least? Like would you just hear them say, oh, yeah, Mochi's really good. And the Obsidian Space Repetition plugin is also very good. So you should use the Space Repetition plugin. Like instinctively, you should think, well, okay, but like, what's wrong with mochi then? Like, you would question it, and if you don't question it, then you're just taking the final thing they said, and like, okay, fine. So that's that. Yeah, that's a real danger. Then here as well, I said, but check the mochi doc so they can egg break. So it like this said that mochi is a proprietary whatever format, uses EDN, so that if you want to edit cards instead of mochi, it's non-trivial, right? So I said, sure, but I just checked it, and it said that you can import and export from Markdown and CSV, which is more than Anki can do, by the way. I want to say, you're right, and that's a fair correction. So it's like, so it's like, at this point, why am I even asking Claude? Like, Claude can give me information, but it can just make stuff up or be wrong, or just fail to mention certain things that are important. And the same applies to like code. You know, if you're using if I mean, using AI to generate code is one thing because that's more like translating instructions to different instructions. But if you're asking AI for like information and for knowledge, then you're really like you can do that, but just be aware that AI itself is not the absolute source. It doesn't give you all the information. You should still consider other sources. So what other sources do you do? Well, you could ask other AI, but really more you should be looking at sources that you would look at if AI didn't exist anyway. Or you should do what probably the smartest thing, in my opinion, which is to use AI as a search engine and ask it to also give you sources. Of course, there are some things that it can omit. In fact, it very much omits sources all the time. So either way, you should still use Google. But you know, it would be nice if down the line AI was a reliable search engine at least, um, if not a reliable knowledge source.
And that is similar to when we started outsourcing and offshoring stuff because it was cheaper. And it worked beautifully for a couple of years until we lost the people who could actually do quality control on what was offshore, the skill.
Yeah, so
And it worked beautifully for a couple of years until at least now not trustworthy. And that is ourselves. And then we come to trust the AI.
yeah, so 1242 down here. We come to trust the AI. Yep, so we lose the ability to discern what is good and correct ourselves. And then we come to trust the AI, and the AI is at least now not trustworthy. Yeah, so I mean, like it kind of speaks for itself. Like the code kind of speaks for itself. Um, yeah, like I think AI in its current state. Well, okay. From my experience, AI in its current state tends to state, even if it does not, hallucinate information, which which it often does anyway. Um, whatever. It still tends to omit information, important information that is worth considering, so that you do not get a fuller, like a bigger picture of what you are researching without picking up on these omissions, which are not always obvious, and questioning the AI about it. Plus, if you do question the AI, chances are chances are the omission is due to a gap in the AI's knowledge base, and therefore it will double down and start hallucinating. That, well, and no, not hallucinating, but like assert that it has not omitted stuff. I think that one of our next steps in AI development should be to remedy this assertiveness. There's this unjustified assertiveness. AI should be better at recognizing its own limitations, right? There's a really funny guy on thing on Instagram where this guy like asked was ChatGPT to like time him, right? So he says like, okay, ChatGPT, I'm gonna go for a run, time me, okay? All right, start. And then like 2 seconds later, okay, ChatGPT, I'm back. What's my time? Right? And ChatGPT says, welcome back. That took 11 minutes and 30 seconds. And it's like, no, it didn't. I did not spend that long. But then ChatGPT insists, yes, it was. And then ChatGPT also insists that, yes, I do have the ability to record time. Like he asks it, ChatGPT, do you have the ability to record time? And ChatGPT says, yes, I'm sure I do. And then he even pulls up a video of Sam Altman, whatever, saying that ChatGPT does not have the ability to record time, and this wasn't in response to the viral Instagram video or TikTok video, whatever. And then ChatGPT still doubles down and says, "That's a clip, but I'm pretty sure that I have the ability to do this." Like, why? Why is it so certain in its ability when it just doesn't exist? So either the AI is rage baiting, is conscious and is rage baiting us for content and clip farming, or well, more likely, there is a serious flaw in how AI are designed, in how they become certain about information. I mean, I don't know that much about AI, but I'm curious to learn more about how it chooses what is correct, as to produce output, right? Because I know that it works on probability, but from what I remember, in my AI module at university, they treat high probability as truthful. So if there is a mistake or like a flaw in how that probability is calculated, then the AI will just hallucinate stuff and double down and insist it's correct. Especially because like people control it, right? Like people can say, like you can talk to ChatGPT and say 2 plus 2 is 4, right? Okay, you could ask ChatGPT. Okay, so like for example, you can talk to ChatGPT and tell it and ask it, ChatGPT, what is 2 plus 2? And it will say, well, 2 plus 2 is 4, right? And then you can say, no, 2 plus 2 is 5, right? How do you have the safeguards for ChatGPT to insist that 2 plus 2 is 4 because it knows, right? It doesn't know, but like we know that 2 plus 2 is 4. It should be able to defend that 2 plus 2 is 4, but it should not be able to defend when it has made a genuine mistake. How do you do that? One idea is to have the AI be able to reason about it, right? So like maybe it'll question, okay, well, 2 plus 2 is 4 because 1 plus 1 is 2, right? So like there's this axiom of 2 being the number after 1, and addition, if you add 1, then you get the number after it, the successor. So then, of course, 1 plus 1 is 2 by definition. And then if we do that 2 more times, we get 3 and then 4. So then 2 plus 2, right, is 2 plus 1 plus 1. So we should get 4. And then it can explain that and say that. And it should say that, honestly. Like it should say that to the user to kind of like talk about its reasoning. And then the user can say, yeah, but 2 plus 2 is 5. And then ChatGPT should say, okay, can you explain to me how that is, right? And then ChatGPT should probably learn from that as well, like from that experience. Like, but then that assumes that ChatGPT has the ability to reason, and I don't think AI do. At least if they did, then this would be an issue in the first place. So very, very interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
And the AI is, at least now, not trustworthy. And that is similar to when we started outsourcing and offshoring stuff because it was cheaper. And it worked beautifully for a couple of years until we lost the people who could actually do quality control on what was offshore. The skills were outsourced and such. And
Yeah, like it's not just AI, but like especially we have less reason to be certain in trusting AI than we do in trusting other humans, at least.
the companies that were doing it lost the ability to see what was good and bad, and then they got bloat from the outside. And I'm worrying that instead of being able to do fairly straightforward things, we then have piles upon piles and tools and cross checks and double checks, try and avoid the faults of the AI. But it's so complicated. I will never become an expert on this.
Thank you for sharing your insights with us and for joining us here at our Accelerate offsite.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All these guys, who is he? Like these Citadel Securities. But like, yeah, this is awesome. I love this video. This is one of my favorite videos right now on the internet, just because it's so cool and it speaks to me. It speaks to me, you know. Um, I will say this for later. I do want to look into, by the way, because like I now know Herb Sutter from his proposal for pattern matching. I know he's done other things too, and I want to kind of check out others of his papers. Obviously, Bjarne Stroustrup is the creator of C++, but there's also Alexander Stepanov, or however you pronounce it, who created the standard template library. So that is something else I want to check out. He's a figure of interest that I want to check out. So yeah, that was the video. That took me over 90 minutes to get through. Well, roughly 90 minutes to get through for a 40-minute video. Now, that being said, hopefully you can see how this wasn't a dull session. Like I got a lot out of that. And now we do not just abandon these. We should now make but if you are doing a Zettelkasten, then you would do this as well, should take notes from these to make Zettels from these. So let's go. For some reason I have two of the same tabs open here. How that happen? Matrices, I need to go through these later. I just need to finish this. Like, yeah, I mean, it's just a fact, I guess. Hold on. Programming? Java? Well, it's Java. Error handling. Yep. Referencing. This is my comp 122. Week 9. Yep. And exceptions that are caught at compile time are called checked exceptions, whereas those which are caught at runtime are called unchecked. Yeah, and that's it, right? It's atomic. It can be as small as it needs to be, or as long as it needs to be. It's atomic. So there's an example of how to do an information note in Obsidian for Zettelkasten, sorry, rather. It works for anything, obviously. Also, I didn't really go through this video and make notes from it, so I should also do that. I don't know why, because like I watched this video and like I did a video on this video here why neuroscientists are telling people to learn Arabic. For some reason, I didn't then go and create notes from it, like Zettels from it. So I need to do that as well. And there's also this thing. I don't know why I didn't do this either. So yeah, I've got these 3 sources that I should really take notes on, because I literally have 0 right now. So anyway, but like for this video, I'm gonna do this one first, at least, and we'll see if I do the other ones. So I find this interesting because I was wondering what the thought was behind the C processor. It always seemed to be a binary solution to quantum calculus. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but the idea here is that even back in the late 80s, like when people invented it, it was just the best they could do at the time, right? Now this is just Bjarne's opinion. Like he said, I don't think anybody liked the preprocessor, so I would like to back this up with more of a source before I make a note about it. But it's certainly interesting. Um, hmm. I mean, I could say like according to Bjarne Stroustrup, right? Um, okay, how about this? How about this? How about this? Not even the C preprocessor wasn't even liked by its creators. Right, this is programming and C++. Well, really, it's C, isn't it? So we'll create a link to C. Now, I do have C as a thing here, but I need to delete that. So hopefully it still links to it properly if I delete it. Yep. So sources. Let me also change my template here. Atom. This should say sources, not references. Because like it's sources of thought. I could call them like triggers or something, but that's a bit whatever. So Bjarne, no, not Bjarne Stroustrup. Bjarne discusses development of C++. Hashtag 202. Cool. Yep. So according to Bjarne Stroustrup, not even those who created the C preprocessor were happy with it. We're happy with its design, let's say. To me, it has always seemed like a band-aid solution to compile time code execution. And we can now do much better with systems like Zig's comp time, C++'s constexpr, and Rust's proc macros, I guess you'd call them. Or just macros. And I will actually link this reference here. This is quote. Yeah. Cool. I think if you literally a language name for C++, of course actually yeah, so there is no need to become a C++ expert. Or really there's no need to become an expert in any language. Right? So like if a programming language okay, well let me write it down first like this. If a programming language, if you intend to use a programming language as a tool, a means to an end, then mastering it is not in your interest. Instead, you should learn, what is relevant to your goals from the language, and then use that knowledge to get where you need to go. This is particularly true since programming languages, well, since the space of programming languages are evolving all the time anyway. And so to dedicate so much of your time to mastering a single language is hard to justify as worth it unless your goals are literally require it. E.g., you are, I don't know, a C++ compiler engineer. This is again Bjarne discusses blah blah. This one was the second one for 11. And then from these zettels, I can of course create other thoughts, but I'm not gonna think too hard about that just now. Programming language, yeah, programming. Yeah. So a programming language is a tool, not a goal. Yeah, I like that. Rather than focus on matching every expansion broken projects, learn language features as I need them or as they're useful, and likewise try other languages. If I'm too busy trying to master C++, how will I ever get proficient in Rust, Zig, OCaml, etc.? Actually, I will add that as a note as well. If you are too busy trying to, say, master C++, how will you find the time to also become proficient in languages like Rust, Zig, OCaml, etc.? Programming is a transferable skill anyway. So become a master at programming, not at a programming language. Yeah. So really, this should be master programming, not programming languages. That's a much better thought. Nice. I'm cooking with this one, man. I'm cooking with these. Okay. As I postulated before, I believe there's great value in the fact we're all unique in our own passions. Yeah, so we are inspired by people, right? We find inspiration. Oops, I made two accidents. That's fine, I guess. We should, because every human is unique in their own way. Is has their Every human has, yes, their own unique interests, passions, experiences, and legacies. In fact, I could just pretty much just copy paste what I already wrote here. That's perfectly valid. Mostly speaking, so of course, it's of course we should communicate and collaborate with each other. We should ask each other questions and find out more about what we were doing, more about what each other. I find out more about what each other are doing. That doesn't sound right. About more about what we are doing. find out more about whatever because it is interesting. It inspires us to think in ways that we likely couldn't reach on our own. Even if you don't know why you find someone or work interesting, that's a question that can lead you to learn a lot about yourself. I mean, this kind of feels like a separate thought, doesn't it? A separate thought. No, not really. So this is 727. Hashtag 7. Um, Collaboration, communication, sociology. Not really. Yeah. So human. So we inspire each other. Is like my takeaway there. Yeah, this seems very much aligned with what we think we control is actually determined by past experiences. Boom. Yeah. So, I mean, really, I should make a whole chain of zettles about determinism here and hard incompatibilism. This is kind of just a reminder. I think I'm gonna leave my thoughts on hard incompatibilism and determinism until I look at a proper like paper or like a book or whatever where it's discussed like because like I mean like it is an actual theory, so I kind of want to go more in depth into that. But from this alone, that being said, no, because like that being said, I've had this idea before I even found out about hard incompatibilism. It's what just giving a name to what I already believed, right? So if we think of the world as if we consider the world to be deterministic and assume the human brain and mind to also be deterministic, then we can logically conclude that what we perceive as control and decision making is really just our internal machine, you know, chugging away. Like our it's really just our machine, our internal machine, which we call the brain or the mind, um, taking input, taking input fed to it, and producing output based on how it has been programmed to yeah based on its programming, let's say it's programming, yeah, programming. This is the idea of determinism. Furthermore, even if we consider that there may be intrinsic Okay, well, actually, that is different thought. So this is the kind of root thought. Sources, not really. I guess should I delete this if I have no sources? I probably should then. Topics. Um, Psychology for sure. Truth, not really. It's more philosophy, obviously, and worldviews. Well, philosophy, same thing, isn't it? Yeah. But also, I guess determinism as well. It would make sense to link that. This is the idea of determinism. Yeah. So what we consider, well, the mind is a deterministic machine. This is determinism. Or really just the mind is a machine. Let's leave it there. However complex that machine is, yeah. And then from this, I can derive free will is an illusion. Yeah, so this is determinism and philosophy, of course, and free will. So if we consider the mind as a machine, if we consider the mind as a deterministic machine, then it is nigh impossible to make an argument for the existence of free will. Hell, I am yet to even define free will in a way that, yet to even find a way to define free will that actually makes sense within what we know of the universe. Universe as a deterministic machine. The mind, okay, if we use it to be a deterministic machine, obviously it has this axiom, but that's the good thing about linking back to these previous notes is that I can see which axioms and assumptions I'm coming from. So that's really important. Um, Additionally, even if we learn that there is um, intrinsic non-deterministic there are non-deterministic events in our universe, i.e. inherent randomness, like from quantum physics, like hinted by quantum physics. It does not imply that we have any control over this randomness. In fact, it's easier for someone to agree that if something is random, they quote unquote obviously do not have control over it. Randomness is the enemy of control. So either way, yeah. So either way, it would appear that our notion of free will is a mere illusion. Regardless of whether determinism, in light of both determinism okay, it's a mere illusion. Usually people argue against determinism. Determinism by by via the physical explanation, that is from physics. So I'll just do a capital P actually, via the physical explanation. But I think that's missing the philosophical idea of determinism. That's why that's why a term that better encapsulates this idea is hard incompatibilism. Right. Yeah, so that's what I think. And yep, that's a note there. So now this links to this. We can see it in my linked mentions. Very cool. Very awesome. And let me also just close this real quick. Maybe it's like table of contents or something. I don't know. Yeah. And that'll be important for this next one, I think, right? Keep your eyes open, have a broad background so you can take an opportunity. I also share this philosophy. I think that in a world where determinism is true, it makes sense to open yourself to as much opportunity as possible. It's like improving your odds in a game of chance. If you can improve them to win and be more successful, you should, and you do that in real life, die by obtaining prerequisites to gain access to more and more knowledge. Yeah. So again, going off determinism. Really this idea again. Yeah, so in a world where determinism is true, it makes sense. It would appear that the winning strategy is then to feed to program your brain such that your mind such that it can produce the best outputs so that it can maximize good outputs for the broadest possible inputs, because we cannot predict what will happen. Yeah, because we cannot predict our futures, right? This means this translates to giving ourselves a strong a broad education, right? So that we can open doors in our minds such that when opportunity comes knocking, well, we can create doors, I guess. Comes knocking, we are able to open those doors. That's the analogy I'm going with. So Bjarne, this one was A34. So yeah, so again, determinism, obviously, And how would I say this actually? Education? Yeah, education. What else would I say about this? Yeah, no, pretty, pretty much that. Um, also, and the way to go about programming one's mind is to first get inputs, first get the necessary inputs in the first place. So for as much as we can, consciously be aware, consciously control ourselves, we should make an effort to not ignore this fact and make good use of it, so as to improve our odds of success in the game of life. Ain't that beautiful? So let's go ahead and call this. Fortune favors the prepared. Actually, is there more there? Yeah, so this, I'll add this quote here. Fortune only favors the prepared. Stuff like that. Can I translate this here? I can't translate this, can I? No. Okay. Boom. Oh, ça here. Chance favors only the prepared mind. Okay. Chance favors only the prepared mind. So I could make that the title, couldn't I? A broad education opens us to the most opportunity. Or rather, the broader our education, the more opportunities we open for ourselves. We open ourselves to. Yeah. And I should also, yeah, I just was. Okay, good. Right. Uh, yeah. A good solid board education is what's underlined. I think the issue with the education system is that you force kids to learn things that you're not interested in, but at that age, how can they know for certain what they're thinking? Yeah. So my thought here was that the education system, well, most education systems, hmm, how do I say this? When students complain in school that what they are learning is uninteresting and should be swapped for more relevant things, really it expresses, really what it shows, like what it reveals, is a flaw in the education system for failing to show why the topics being taught are interesting and worth learning. Of course, not everything of course, we should be, we should carefully consider what is truly, well, we should be critical about what is truly worth teaching our children. But ultimately, but there should be no case for not, but like when students complain about things as fundamental as mathematics, our takeaway should not be that mathematics as taught in school is useless, but that the way it is taught does not inspire students in the way that it should, right? So, like, going on with this math example, maths is useful because it teaches kids problem solving and critical thinking, and I mean, like, well, critical thinking, whatever, but like, yeah, problem solving is the main thing, and also like pattern recognition, right? Um, so education. This one was also the Bjarne thing, Bjarne 932. Hashtag. Ooh. Ugh. God damn. What's his titled? Um, like things taught in school aren't uninteresting. They just aren't taught to be interesting. So school, uninteresting topics in school are not. Hmm, certain subjects are not uninteresting. They are just not taught to be interesting. Yeah. And this kind of goes into like, I mean, education falls under sociology, so it's fine. Um, yeah, because like from my observations, it seems that things that once seemed uninteresting can suddenly become interesting once we are given a reason to find it interesting. Simply being taught a fact doesn't immediately mean it is interesting. It should surprise us in some way and make us, you know, and make us see something in a different light. That is what makes it interesting. And I could give an example, like with football, I guess. I've never cared about football, but suddenly I do kind of have interest in football, just because it's like with yeah. So like for example, I have never been particularly interested in football, neither wanting to play nor watch it. But seeing Japan play in a way that challenges how how other teams approach football, seeing how Japan play in a way that challenges how other teams approach football, you know, it surprised me and made me see football in a different light. You know, it made me interested in something that always had the potential to be interesting, but I was just never shown how it was. And then, like this led me to like look into like clips from like Messi and stuff like that, right? Which is also interesting. But like these are things I just never really looked at, because whenever people mentioned football, it was always on like FIFA, the World Cup, where it's just kind of boring, you know. If someone had like you said, like showed me like, I don't know, like Messi highlights and gone, oh my god, look at this man, then that might have been a bit different. So like it took that trigger, it took that what's the word? Well, whatever the word is, but like that's what got me interested, and I believe the same goes for many other things. Okay. The question this raises is not how you find what is useful, but sorry, no, it is. Presumably, it's not just doing things that are particularly useful, but useful. For example, going to face Sudoku. Oops. Uh, Motivation is lost when I am doing something that is no longer really producing any value. Yeah, but like, yeah, I mean, like, you lose motivation when the things that motivate you are no longer motivating you, right? Um, I don't think it's that crazy. It's more that people have different values, right? So like we can't expect people's motivations to be the same. But the other thought here is that things that seem useless, so um, tasks that appear useless or irrelevant on the surface may still serve some, some greater, you know, bigger picture purpose. Um, and it is that which may motivate us, even, which may even subconsciously motivate us to do things that, no, not really. Anyway, let's just scrap that part. Yeah. For example, I love doing Sudoku because it challenges my problem solving skills and thus strengthens them. But I then get bored and lose motivation to continue doing similar puzzles once I feel like I've solved the game. This is probably why I also find it difficult to get into into video games, right? And even like TV shows, when I don't see the real value in playing or watching them. So, topics: motivation, uh, morality, not really, perfectionism, uh, psychology, nah, yeah. So, this is motivated by 1002, and title this one Useless tasks can be useful. Whoops. Useless tasks can be useful. Therefore, not all useless tasks are useful, obviously. Obviously. But it's worth thinking more deeply about why we do things, even if why we or others do things, even if they do not immediately appear to align with our goals. Nice. Yeah, retirement, man. I mean, this was like just more of a question, really, for like people. Was like, why retire? But I guess my thought here is that retirement is boring. Retirement is boring. Bjorn 10:02, 10:10, sorry. 10:10, need back up. Yeah, for the longest time, for the longest time, for as long as I can remember, the idea of retirement has never appealed to me, nor has it made sense, nor has it ever made sense to me. In my eyes, retirement should be boring because because the career you dedicate yourself to should be one that you are passionate about and interested in, and and that aligns with your values. So why would you ever stop doing that? I suppose it makes the most sense then if we assume that people who do retire were never, were never living their lives in the way they wanted to in the first place. Really, we should be chasing a we we should be chasing we should be aiming to live a life where retirement isn't even a thought, isn't even a thought, yeah, isn't even something we think about. Yeah. So again, with like motivation, maybe, and like life, like career path type thing, philosophy. Yeah. Okay. Uh, last one, I think here, right? From my experience, AI in its current state, yeah, so this is about AI. Yeah, so artificial intelligence, I think that one of the biggest issues with modern artificial intelligence is that it does not know how to reason that which it believes to be correct. It just blindly assumes that certain things are correct, and if you challenge it, it has no choice but to double down, since it cannot reason why those things must be correct for itself. Yeah. And that's the last one there. Topics: artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence. Why is that one a link, but the other ones weren't? Strange. And why is coding a thing? What's different between coding and programming? Because I have programming here as well. Awkward. I guess I'll check the thing later. So AI, certainty, reasoning, morality. Nah, just AI, really. So AI needs to be able to back up its assumptions. Is what I'm really saying there. All right, so we got 8 different links from this, I think. Yeah, 8 different link mentions. So now if I open my graph view here, by the way, am I even visible? Yeah, the lighting's a bit whack right now. So that took about 50 minutes, which actually isn't too bad. It felt longer because I was like really into it, really in it, but that actually wasn't too bad. Like I mean, like the note creating part. I mean, do the math. 50 minutes, 8 notes. 50 divided by 8 is roughly 6, right? 6 minutes per note, more or less. So that's from this, right? Bjarne Stroustrup, and of course this has connections with this one. This paper by Bjarne Stroustrup. How can you be so certain? Because it connects for communication, collaboration, and education, which is cool. Very, very cool. It doesn't share any of the same like direct atoms, but that's fine. Yeah, very cool, very cool. Also, it links to this, my notes from Comp 122, because of programming. Makes sense, I guess. And then I have some islands here that are by themselves because I haven't made notes of them properly yet. Why? What was this? Oh, just some other thought. Yeah. Anyway, okay. So cool. Look at that. My Zettelkasten is getting bigger. So I do need to also make notes for these things, these 2 videos, but I'll do that probably in my own time. Yeah. So anyway, all in all, that took about 2 hours and 20 minutes to watch that video again, watch it back, and take notes in it, and make Zettels in it. So a lengthy process, but definitely worth it, and I'm very happy. So yeah, subscribe for more Zettelkastening content. This is cool. I like having a system that really feels like it's useful, because as I said in my notes today, I don't like doing things that I don't think are useful, that I don't think are beneficial. If I start something and it seems like it's useful, but then I come to the point where I think I've kind of reaped all the usefulness from it, then I just I lose motivation. But this is useful. This feels useful for now. This feels useful as a thinking tool, and I'm very happy. So until it stops feeling useful, I'll keep going. Yippee.